How you doing, everybody? Happy holidays, and thanks for joining us today for another Rollin' Over the Hill right here on the Live to Roll channel. At this time, I'd like to give a shout out, as always, to thank our sponsors, mobility professionals and urology professionals. They're a great and helpful group of experts that are part of the community and make this all possible here on the Live to Roll channel. So, a big thanks to them. On today's show, we have a special guest, Sue Waller. The topic is staying active and aging with a disability. As, as always, make sure to include your questions, comments, and views in the chat. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Soto. I'm a T12 spinal cord injury from a motorcycle racing accident almost 50 years ago. And now let's get started and welcome my co-hosts, Bobby and Luis. What's up, guys?
Not much. Go ahead. Take it away, Luis.
My name's Luis. Clearly, it's been said 3 times now. I've been injured for 43 years. Back in 1981, I was working on an oil rig, and I got tossed from the oil rig. And I'm a L3, L4 incomplete, and I'm a SCI walker and roller.
And rolling. All right.
Yeah.
I'm Bobby Rohan. I'm the youngest of the group today, 34 years. Usually I'm the old grandpa of the group on Tuesdays, but here I might be on the younger side. And I'm a C5, C6 quadriplegic of 34 years from a bicycle accident. And so excited to introduce our guest for this evening. We have my friend Sue, who I've known 2 years now, probably
Yeah, probably.
online. Yeah. And the beauty of COVID, if there was any beauty or silver lining, you could say, was getting to meet a lot of people over Zoom. And I started exercise class and got to become a coach with Staying Driven Live. And once I became a coach, I started meeting a lot of the participants in the group. And I met Sue, and she was working out, and found out she does a lot of things that I want to try, in the sense of kayaking and rowing are the only 2 things that I haven't tried of all the many sports of snow skiing and water skiing. And so one of these days I'm going to go up and get to kayak with you, Sue. But we got to meet each other for the first time in person. My brother, who lives up in Santa Cruz, and she's not too far from there. We were having a picnic for my brother's birthday, and I got to meet Sue. So, Sue, that's enough on my side. Take it away and introduce yourself and get us to know a little bit about you.
I'm a C5-6 quad. I was injured in a diving accident same year as Lewis, actually. It's been over 40 years. So I was kind of young and then went off to college after that.
So you were in high school?
High school.
Okay. And diving into a pool or ocean?
Swimming pool, and I messed up a racing dive. It was more shallow end, so not recommended.
Yeah, that's got to be hard. Well, I think a lot of times we talk about here on the show, when we talk about getting injured back before ADA. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You were young, so still in high school or just got out of high school?
No, I was just done with my sophomore year, so I went back to 2 more years of high school, and then there was, of course, problems with that, but we got them resolved. But then when I went to school, it was UC Berkeley, which is the place where disability awareness is, and they had the best program in the world for me, so I lucked out with that. But we had our battles with the school, and we're not going to put a ramp there, and but we made it happen. So
Nice. The good old putting your foot down, I guess you can say, or your wheel down. So, we talk a lot, and we always have the guys, usually, for the most part, as our host here, and then also on Tuesday. But tell us a little bit about what it was like getting hurt at young and being a female when you did get hurt. What were were you active beforehand, and what was it like with that life-changing
yeah, I mean, of course,
accident?
it's hugely life changing. I just became, or I was certified to become a possibly the first lifeguard, and my job was supposed to start like 3 days later, and then of course I dive into a pool and become paralyzed. But I
Oh,
did do the rehab, and I luckily took enough extra classes ahead of time, so I was able to keep on schedule and graduate with my class. And yeah, there's not so many people that are women that are spinal injured, but I actually got into wheelchair sports pretty quickly and did swimming and table tennis for that. And before that, I was just an active high schooler, skier and bicycling and stuff like that.
cool. Um, so you did rehab and then went
Hmm.
off to back to high school. What was like growing up, and then in the sense of going through your later teens until, and something I know about you, you're married with kids. So tell us
Yeah.
about that whole process.
Well, of course, getting when you're 16, you're just breaking away from your parents, and then suddenly you're thrown dependent on them, which was, a real bummer. But I'm really thankful that my mother was really active in helping me to get to Berkeley as far as, thinking that was even a possibility. And then once I'm there, I was, living on my own with the help of personal care attendants, and got to live a grown up life and, have fun. And um, it was it was a good place, and eventually met my husband there. I did undergrad then graduate, so it was right before graduate school I met him.
Uh-huh. And so what was that like finally getting to, was he your first boyfriend or just, finally somebody you met that could be your soulmate?
It wasn't the first person kind of I dated, but the first serious one there. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, we got along well, and he was just leaving school and I was just about to start graduate school. So yeah, it worked out well.
Nice,
Oh,
nice.
what was your major?
I did psychology undergrad and business for graduate school.
Very nice.
And so obviously then once you graduated, you went off uh, to go into the workforce, or what was that like?
Yeah, I graduated, and then I was, Berkeley's about an hour from the Bay Area, South Bay Area, where I'm at kind of now. And so once got married and made the move back here, and I worked in different companies, but mostly it was human resource related, and worked a long career of. It had been an HR manager, but many recruiting positions because they were nice and flexible with having kids. I have two kids right now, so it was nice to be a little bit flexible to be able to go pick them up from school and then get back to work at home for a little while and making phone calls at night. But I was kind of working crazy hours for many years.
That's great. And then so obviously once you start the career having kids, were you still able to stay active?
No, I don't think I was very much. It was kind of like sometimes I was working 60-hour weeks, and there wasn't any time left. So I did like early years still try a little bit of like adaptive skiing or something like that, or but yeah, nothing. Never felt that I had time to do the exercise, which I should have made time to do. But we actually retired early a few years ago, and then I had have time, so I just started saying yes to opportunities that I found.
Started getting back into it. That's
Yeah.
great. So I don't know if you guys have tried the rowing and the kayaking, Robert or Lewis.
No,
I,
I saw some of the pictures. I haven't. I haven't done any of that.
No.
Yeah. There's
Yeah. Anyway.
rowing to me is easy. Well, after I got through some of the hurdles, because I'm a quad, so I don't have a grip, so that was half of the hurdle. But rowing to me, I mean, kayaking is easy. It's straightforward. My brain can handle it, but rowing is backwards and everything
mm,
is flipped. And it took a couple of years to really figure it out. And even just this week, they told me you're not going crooked as much anymore because my right arm is strong and my left arm is weak. And so I'd constantly do an extra 5 strokes on the left arm. But finally, after 2.5 years, I think I'm almost there now. Yeah.
When I try to do my just pushing as for exercise and try to get up speed, I'm always noticing like 3 on the right, 1 on the left. You know,
Yeah.
it's never quite easy. So tell us a little bit about the rowing and kayaking. You just got into it recently.
Yeah, I think both of them were a little over 2 years ago. The rowing, there's a local kind of nonprofit. It's just a regular place that people row, all kinds of levels, and they had a list that they were doing adaptive rowing, and I reached out to them. I said, "Can I? I don't have a grip. Can I make it work?" And my coach said, "Yeah, I don't have a grip either." And so, with the right um, I'm using this wrap from it's called Mute, and it worked really well. So eventually, I got on the water, and then I saw that in Berkeley they have the group called BORP, and they were doing kayaking. So they had a great setup. So I tried it and a number of times, but it was about an hour drive. And then my husband said, "Hey, we can make this work for you where you row." And they were very cooperative. We actually put in like an overhead lift that they're my husband's really happy to take other people who are disabled out if they want to, and it's there for me. So I do both. More every week rowing pretty much, but kayaking once in a while.
Okay.
Nice.
And when you're rowing, is it cold or I mean, I'm sure in the summer it's fine, but now that we're getting into those a little bit later months, it gets
Yeah,
out there.
it's kind of funny though because the summer is more windy and more tide issues. So like I was there last week and it was 60 something with my jacket on, felt fine. But if you get really early in the morning, it could be really foggy. But yeah, sometimes it could be the coldest I've been is like 48. But if I'm wrapped up good, I'm pretty good.
I got a
Sue,
question. I got
go
a
ahead,
question.
Rob.
I know, Bobby, I know you're pretty active with hand cycling and things like that, and you push a manual chair, and I'm sure that's taken some toll on your shoulders, primarily the pushing the manual chair. Sue, what about you? Do you have any issues with your shoulders, especially with 40 years plus or whatever, and
Yeah.
rowing and all that? Does it aggravate or does it,
I
uh,
don't.
you know?
And, when I first got injured, I really wanted to be in a manual chair. I just thought, oh, power wheelchairs don't seem like the thing for me. But I wasn't very strong. And then I went to Berkeley, which is all hills.
Yeah,
And so, and getting to class that's 2.5 miles away in the rain, in the hill. Yeah. It was clear that, yeah, power chair is the way to go. And they didn't have the power assist push chairs then. So I've been in the power chair, which for me is working. I can, it allowed me to work my jobs and get from building to building quickly and
yeah,
everything. So
yeah,
shoulders are doing pretty well still. And the rowing is a really good strengthening, pulling backwards motion versus the hunched over that we often
yeah,
are in wheelchairs.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I, both of them are good for me. But yeah, there are times that I can feel it a little bit after rowing, and then I might take it a little bit easy afterwards. But lately, I've been able to do the staying driven on the same day, so
Wow, that's
a
good.
little bit,
That's good stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Sue,
awesome.
I was going to ask, is all of your rowing and kayaking freshwater, or do you do anything out in the ocean?
It's it's the San Francisco Bay. It's inland, kind of like little channels or little
Hmm.
slough kind of thing. So it is saltwater, but it's not big ocean waves or anything like that. But I
So
do get
you're
the
not kayaking Mavericks or anything like that.
yeah, that's next week. Yeah. Uh,
So,
I'm doing that's me though. The picture, that's me. I'm the person with the white shirt. That was an accessible rafting, but obviously I'm just going for the ride there.
That's
That was
awesome.
I thought you'd be the one out on the front on the,
they actually, yeah, this is National Ability Center. They actually had like kind of a big plastic kind of Adirondack chair, so that was good because I don't have trunk balance, so that was good.
Yeah. No, that's nice because when I went river rafting, they put me down into the boat. So I'm sitting down where and my arms are like this, and I'm like, whoa, you know. So I don't get to see as much of the action as I was
Yeah.
hoping. But
I did
so
that once, and I held my arms around the legs of my cousin, and then she flew out. I couldn't hold her in.
yeah. So it seems like you have more of a passion for water sports than
Um,
anything when it comes
it
to your
just
activity.
what became available to me, but when there was opportunities to do adaptive bike riding, I've tried that, and it's fun. But I also live in the hills, and so it's not really probably the right thing for me to do. It's not a
Yeah, to
to get
exit your
in.
garage.
Yeah, it's all it's dangerous streets and no sidewalks kind of
Yeah.
things.
That
Nice.
was one big thing when looking for a home for my wife and I came into my neighborhood. It was all flat, so I was like, I can handle this all flat
Yeah.
because I did live in Woodland Hills and it was downhill, and
Mhm.
many times my dog got out, and I'd have to go chase him. And so the first few times when I was younger, I would be, no problem. And then, all right, let's go back, push up the hill. And after a while, I was like, I'm getting my car before I go chase this dog again. And then so when I moved here, I still had the dog. And I'm like, okay, if you get out, at least it's flat for me to go chase you. So tell us a little bit about, your aging. We typically like to bring up, some of the effects of aging with our disability, our spinal cord injury, and the effects that go along. So, have you noticed anything with your body that's different now towards uh, before before you were 20 years post, 30 years post? Did you see
Yeah,
any changes?
immediately I felt like I was getting scoliosis already, but I've been pretty lucky, and I think I need to keep exercising. I think I did it. I shouldn't have waited any longer. But I'm trying to do everything I can, and I see people having problems with osteoporosis and everything. And my doctor said I'm actually doing pretty well. She says, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." So I think I'll try to keep doing. I do try to. I have my chair stands, but I stand some, but not enough.
Not enough. Well, that's
Yeah,
good to hear that your bones are still um, cooperating. No
yeah.
no broken bones or anything like that.
No, I haven't done that, and I
Okay.
hope not to. Yeah.
Yeah, knock on
There
wood.
was, there was a conversation the other day that I was saying that I do wear a seatbelt on my chair, and we were talking about people flying out of their chair and breaking bones, and I said I
Yeah.
flew out of my chair in Berkeley, and I started wearing a seatbelt ever since. So I think
Yeah.
that does.
No, I get that. So nothing else like, that you've noticed along the way. Yeah, I mean, I know Luis asked you about your shoulders, but um, you've maintained pretty much healthy with no skin breakdown and healthy with not
I
being
have
on many
to
medications.
keep an eye. I did. I had to keep an eye on that. I did actually. Have a pulmonary embolism years ago, which was just all of a sudden and could not breathe. And luckily, got to the ER quickly. And luckily, there was someone in the house with me at the time because it was a few minutes from nobody being in the house. But I also have had my share of infections, and my advice to anybody is take them very seriously
Yeah.
and get in there as soon as a fever happens.
Hmm.
So I think that's the main thing. I think some of the things that kills us is the sepsis and things like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And when you retired, was it more for just, now I got the financial means and the capability of retiring, or was it getting hard? You said something about working 60 hours. Was it hard to with
That'll do
disability?
it.
That up?
That'll
Luckily,
do
I
it.
stopped that about 3 or 4 years. I stopped that particular job about 3 or 4 years before retiring and then I was at a much more reasonable company, and it was just much better. But my husband decided, hey, I'm going to retire early, and you can too. And we'd seen people who aren't disabled, people, friends, and family, where suddenly people get older and things unexpected happen,
Mhm.
really deep sicknesses or deaths, and they never expected that. And I've seen the example of people retiring and having fun and exercising and going places, and so that's kind of what we're trying to do.
That's awesome. I felt the same way right after COVID and spent some time at home and with the wife and going, you know what, we're only on this planet for a short time.
Hmm.
And we said we're going to have to crunch down and watch our finances, from
Hmm.
for the most part we do until I find a new sport. And then my wife rolls her eyes at me. But for the most part, I've been able to do it and now enjoy some of the things that I'm sure you felt like you missed. Robert was the same way. If you want to talk about how you were working your butt off too, Robert,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. For me, because I worked 42 years before I retired, all from when I was after my injury, and I was doing the 60 hours. And when I was younger, did all the screwy hours and the days, consecutively. That wasn't a problem. But as I got older, I just was getting tired. And the thing is I damaged my shoulders and I wouldn't miss work. I was one of those, said, oh, well, I'll just take it easy on it and all that kind of stuff. And I never give myself or my body a rest. So towards the, about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I retired and I just was done. The hours burnt me out, and just the job itself. I was a workaholic, but I didn't like working. It's just this work ethic that that was instilled into me that, hey, you have a job, you do it and you do it well and all that. But I was just done. And so once I retired, for me, it was just the first year was a little bit difficult because I felt I should be doing something. But after that, I cleared that hurdle. I'm doing fine, and I really wish I would have retired sooner. If everything worked out. I wasn't really sure. You're never really sure with the financial side of it. Really, you don't know
Yeah.
what it's going to be all about. But
Mhm.
it all worked out fine. And uh, for me, though, the crossing paths with aging and the disability is. I think it's not so much the disability; it's the aging piece in terms of my strength because I don't have all the strength, and my shoulders are obviously shot over all these years and just not really taking care of them or really taking care of myself. But so yeah, I enjoy. I'm active socially. I have friends where I go and do a bunch of things and kind of hang out. I do a few things here or there, but for the most part, just taking my life easy now. And my shoulders, in terms of exercise and things like that, I do some here and there, but I just don't want to take any chances on straining or anything like that because I need them for my daily activities just to get through the day. So that's my philosophy, whether it's a cop out or not. But I mean, I just that's for me. That's what works for me. Um, and like I said, it's been a long road, but it's been a journey. But you know, still kicking and doing what I want to do when I want to do it, and that's primarily my retirement.
Mhm.
What about you?
When
What about you, Bobby? You want to tell a little bit more about your story?
Well, I mean, mine was for the most part, it was coming down to some health issues. Working at a hospital and going there into that hospital environment every day. And I had a lot of coworkers that were on contracted workers. So when they got sick and they had to take a day off, they lose money because they don't have any sick days, like being that of a contract worker. So they would come in sick to work, and I'm like, oh man. And I just noticed like just being sick all the time in the last like 3 years before I finally decided, uh, to step back. And it was really starting like a year before COVID. I was just getting like germed out, gross out. So that's why I mean, that was one reason. But then another, the second thing is doing now some of the fun stuff that I haven't done in a long time with friends and going out in the middle of the afternoon or going for a bike ride or, doing those kind of things. It's like,
Mhm.
I don't have to worry about work anymore. So that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's important too because the thing is, everyone has their own term or philosophy on active. I mean, just keeping mentally active is a big piece. I mean,
Which
uh, that you have to have that. So I like hearing the stories of what people do, especially as we age. And we've all been, here. Bobby, you're the young one with 34 years in the chair. I mean, look, you add up all the experience that we have here. There's a lot of years. So
Mhm.
it's kind of good to share with everybody the
Mhm.
experiences and anyone out there that's listening that's newer injuries or stuff like that. It's kind of good to listen to see what we've went through and what they maybe learned from it, from what to do and what not to do and things
Yeah.
like that. Luis, what's your background story?
Um, I was a IT professional for 38 years and a contractor. You were talking about contractors, and
You
I
are
would work.
talking
I was a
contract.
contractor. It,
Mhm.
I loved contracting because I got to work for all kinds of different companies. The job was always changing.
Mhm.
3 months here, 6 months there, a year, 3 months again. And it was for a food service company. And I would go to 2 or 3 cities a week. So I was constantly flying, going places. And that got kind of old because when you're pushing a chair, dragging your luggage with the wheelchair and everything else to 2 or 3 cities a week, it gets
Yeah.
old. So
Right.
basically, after those contracts ended, I decided it was about time for me to do some other things, and I started doing some software development and publishing and whatnot. And then I met Triumph Foundation, and about that time, it was just the perfect time for me to say, you know what, I'm going to retire from IT because I was slowing down. I was still basically doing what I was always doing, but my recovery days were getting longer. So day to day, I was fine, but the next day was taking longer to recover. Nowadays, I've been with Triumph for 13 years, and I've always thought of myself as kind of the Superman, super gimp of disabled. I could do anything and everything. And this year, I was telling you guys about it before, I'm starting to feel it right here in my right shoulder.
Mhm.
I'm starting to get a repetitive motion injury.
Mhm.
Just like you guys talked about, doing those things over and over again. And it's finally catching up with me at age 63, you know. So I know that I have to be more careful with my arms and things like that. A lot of times the arm issues catch up with people, 15, 20, 25 years in. For me, it's been 43 years now, and I can't hide from it anymore. I have to pay
Yeah,
attention to it, take care of my body, and do all those right things so that I can keep doing it.
yeah, yeah. The right
Yeah.
things.
And I know that, where I thought this would be a great point where we're all in that retirement age and talk to somebody like Sue, who's now, tell us about, getting on the exercises and help me just do what I preach. Movement is key. And so tell us about your movement and staying active now that you are, and with, we hate to say the aging part, but aging along with this as, you're 40 years plus. So, tell us a little bit about your movement and, how has it helped you since you started?
Well, definitely, like I said, I didn't seem like I had time to exercise when I was working so much. So now I exercise a lot, probably 6 days a week now, or maybe five random, or more often five. But yeah, I'm definitely stronger than I was a few years ago, which is a good thing to be as you get older. So um,
Yeah.
And probably healthier too, right?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Jeff,
Did,
so getting to our chat real quick, Jeff, thank you so much for the super chat. $50. Appreciate it. That's a
Thank you,
huge
Jeff.
help. And what's up, Rob and Tara, and our quad trials and theories? He's got a lung infection, so hopefully that's going okay. Roy in the house, Paul, and Paul did have a question for you, Sue, about how you're holding your paddle with the rowing or with the kayaking.
Well, Paul was the one who told me how to hold the kayak paddles.
Yeah.
Oh, tell us how it is.
That's a little plug for Paul.
But yeah, there's a company called Creating Abilities, which is plural. That's the main thing. And they have this really cool thing that I put on my wrist and slide through a little pin through a bracket. And that works just fine for kayaking. That's all I need. We got me a kind of a longer, I always say I'm going in between oars and paddles all the time, but a longer paddle. And so I could get a better kind of dig into the water. But with rowing, I decided to use the same system. But then we found that it was kind of better if we sort of wrap my hand with the stretchiness just to get the fingers over. I always have somebody, I have like basically two people in a boat behind me, so they could get me unconnected
Are,
quickly if I had
are
to.
you talking about like an ace bandage or
It's kind of,
something
yeah,
comparable?
it's kind of like an ace bandage, but it's more like disposable, stretchy and grips. The stretchy grip kind of people put it on their wrist or whatever as needed.
Oh, kind of. Yeah, I use them for cycling to protect my wrist,
Mhm.
but
Probably something like that. Yeah, yeah, I think so.
is that
Yeah,
the horse tape
Yeah,
or
this
is
is
that?
the tape.
yeah, that looks like the same type of thing.
Oh, that's kinesiology tape.
Yeah.
Well,
But
yeah, I mean, it sticks to itself, and it is very much like an ace bandage, but disposable. But yeah, but
okay.
I think early on I tried with like the mute glove or the active hands gloves, but I felt that the oar would turn on me all the time, and you need it to stay put. So
Mhm.
that I
Mhm.
ended up with the same thing I use for kayaking for rowing.
Oh, yeah, I think it's that tape that kind of like when you have a sprain, or no, not a sprain, but after surgery or when you get blood drawn, sometimes they put it around to hold it tight because that tape gets tighter and tighter. Um, so I believe it's called horse tape is what they
Maybe,
call it.
yeah.
Yeah, who knows? So no, that's nice to hear, keeping active, but something that we don't get to talk about a lot is, on our side, we're not a female to go through
Mhm.
having kids. Tell us what that was like, and uh,
Mhm.
was that scary? Being the quadriplegic, and did you have a lot of people to talk to at the time about how it was going to go?
No, like with there's fewer female quads, but they exist obviously that have kids. Now you can pull from the whole country with social
Yeah.
media. Before it was
Yeah,
harder,
yeah.
but I was told it's possible, so I went with it. The main thing is autonomic dysreflexia, where and that actually was a huge issue. Did fine, except for during the delivery there was a miscommunication, and the thing is they're supposed to just give you an epidural which stops the autonomic dysreflexia from happening, and there was miscommunication where the anesthesiologist didn't think that was necessary, and my blood pressure was shooting through the roof. But we had it all taken care of the next time. But I went with the high risk pregnancy, which I saw one quad recently. I'm mad that they say I need a high risk pregnancy. I'm like, no, don't be mad. Just be happy to have someone who's ready to take care of any issues. And. But there was a organization. I don't know that they still exist, but they actually. I forgot what it was like, Through the Looking Glass. I don't know if they still exist, but
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them
they
before.
help they helped me get access to a crib that I could kind of slide open and get right up to the baby, and you
Mhm.
know,
Nice.
and I kind of actually told them what kind of car seat I wanted it, because I didn't want something that babies can open things. They're good at that and change
Yeah.
levers. And so I thought I need a lever to open it, but they can't have the lever. I have to be able to move the lever where they can't get it and then use it. It all worked out. Of course, there's challenges with little kids, running away from you and stuff like that. But they were pretty good. They were good kids. So
That's awesome. And you have a girl and a boy, right?
right, yeah, yeah, girl and a boy. Yeah,
Nice.
one just finished her PhD, and he finished his bachelor's a couple of years ago. So good
Good
job.
deal.
There you go. And was it, tell us about being a mother as a quad with grip and kind of the usual thing we think of.
I did use help when they're real small. So, I it'd be very hard to just completely manage a little kid running away and changing diapers all the time. But I was working also full time during that time. So we got, care during the day while I was working. And I use help in the morning and at night for myself. And the person working with me would help to get my child ready so my husband could drop him off at daycare. But, we made it work. I remember there was times where we just put my daughter in her swing while I quickly took my shower, and she was happy with her swing. And you make it work. And I did most of the pickups and dropping them off at soccer and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I just found it. Yeah, they are still around, Sue, and
My
it's
daughter's visiting right now, so she lives in San Diego, but she's visiting right now. And my son is, kind of in between figuring out the whole career thing. So he's here for a little while doing substitute teaching. But
Nice.
yeah,
that's great.
they've been
But
out of that. Pardon me?
that organization's still around, Sue,
It is.
and
That's great. Yeah.
yeah, it's lookingglass.org for helping
Hmm.
families with disabilities. So
Yeah. It
kind of
was.
cool.
What he said? How did I change diaper? I just didn't. That's what Paul says, huh? Yeah, I wasn't very good at that. I did manage it a little bit, but it didn't work very well. So I remember once you could tell the baby, had gone, and there was a house cleaner visiting, and she goes, "You want me to take care of that?" "Yes, please." But
Yeah,
But as they got older, they'll listen to you, and they can help get things on and off. And I could talk them into how to climb up onto the back seat of the car and get into the car seat and help me even with the lockdown. And so when they're even just toddlers, they're very, they can be very compliant.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so, it seems like, with your story,
Mhm.
how I got hurt, but then, I went back to school, fought the school, you won it, got it resolved, and then
Mhm.
went off to college and uh, met your husband, had kids, had a career, now having fun in life. Is there any
Mhm.
parts of that in there that, like someone with a disability that kind of worried about things along the way? This thing seems like everything, was pretty natural with
Mhm.
the progression of just anyone's life. And then now throw on top of a C56 quad and being female at the time, when there
Mhm.
wasn't a lot of females. Was there any hard parts along the way? What were your hardest parts?
Yeah, of course it's hard. And I think one of the hardest parts is I'm not fully independent as far as getting myself up and everything. So that's a difficult part. And my mother and dad, they're both gone now, but I kind of think I wish I told them that I appreciate that they kind of rooted for me. And I think for my mom to really help me to or want me to go to Berkeley, which was a lot of parents of a new disabled person, they're gonna like want to hover with them and take care of them. And luckily, Berkeley had a lot of safety net for me, so we felt pretty safe. And I'm glad because I never was in, living dependent on them. And after that, I learned how to hire personal care attendants. And but even during the years, they would be my backup person. My parents could help me out, and I knew that over time that they're not going to be a backup person. But so I almost always have a lot of people that are my caregivers, but they're also a lot of them are nursing students, and a lot of them only want like 1 or 2 shifts a week. Which in a way, it's a lot of work to hire them, but it's great because they can trade shifts. And but it is scary when you're dependent on people. I know all of us that are dependent on them, we don't know for sure if we're going to have somebody show up or not. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the hardest part. And another thing, it's something why I went to graduate school. I wanted to become as financially independent as I could be so that I could get off benefits and be able to afford my caregivers. And and it's also something that we decided that my husband is not my caregiver. He helps me all the time. He's cooking dinner, and he does a lot of stuff, but as much as possible, which is 99% of the time, there's someone here in the morning and at night. And then they're doing things, also, like I got my little robo vacuum and robo mops and just getting things started and laundry going and stuff. So he doesn't have to do all that. But we actually will also bring someone on a trip with us too, which is kind of a big deal.
Yeah. I have a
So yeah,
friend who does that too. And he says it's great. And it's, at times they're like, you and your spouse want to do something different. And he always feels weird to say, well, stay at the hotel because this is for us. I don't know
yeah,
if
and
you.
it's been good. A lot of and there's been times where we're just driving and we get a 2 bedroom condo, and I'll say, hey, if you want to bring a friend, if they can share the room with you, and we don't pay for the friend, but the friend gets free lodging. Most of the time it works out great. They can go do something with us, but they often want to do their own thing. We want them to do their own thing.
Yeah.
So but it's a big expense to pay an extra plane ticket and
Oh, yeah.
an extra room. And often we get not the most accessible, a slightly accessible condo because 2 hotel rooms are pretty pricey. So then maybe the shower's not perfect, but it's kind of okay. It'll work.
Hmm.
But those are some of the things. But yeah, it's definitely not easy ever. But I always think there's a lot more things we can do than can't do, so I might as well work on the things we can do.
And so have you traveled a lot?
Not a ton, but we just that one the picture we just showed, that was Utah. We did a lot of Utah. It's a beautiful place, and we'll be going to Hawaii soon, and we do San
Nice.
Diego. And we're probably going to mostly do U.S. Oh yeah, the arches there. We're
Oh,
probably gonna do mostly U.S. travel, I think, and maybe a little Canada. We've done Alaska, but I'm not
isn't
sure if
that
Europe is something that we're going to do because there's so much U.S. that we can do.
Yeah.
isn't that Arches National Park?
It is,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and the trails aren't always necessarily considered accessible, but you figure out what you can do. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
Goes
that's
far.
a little, my travel chair, which is not very great because it's lightweight. We can put it in a car, and it's not really great for slopes and everything. But I can get on a fair amount of trails.
Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate finally running into someone that says, why do I want to go to all these different countries when there's so much here in America
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
I'm
haven't
with you.
and want to do, and like my wife always wants to go to Rhode Island, and oh, I'd love to go there, and I wanted to go see Florida Keys, and little places like that, as well as where I just saw that picture. I'd love to go there one day and
Yeah,
see some of that kind of stuff. So I know, just because you had showed me, talk about your little hotel bed situation, ramps.
Oh,
I thought it
yeah.
was just perfect
I should have.
setup, and
Yeah, yeah, I guess you had a picture of it, but
yeah,
so
I
my
should have gotten
husband.
it.
So I have a van that I can drive. I don't drive really far places. It's not my thing to do. But um, and in fact, one time you were saying what falls apart. My wrists were really sore for many years from opening really heavy doors. So I kind of don't drive really far. But my husband got a Tesla, which he loves to drive because it's easy to drive. But it's not crazy accessible. So we've got that lightweight chair that is, just a cheap power chair that weighs like 60 pounds. He puts that in there. And it doesn't change heights. And so when we're going back into the car is up about at least 6 inches. So he made some high density foam ramps that we can just roll they fold, he has them folding up. They weigh like less than a pound. And
Wow.
I roll up onto the chair to use the sliding board to get into the car for getting in. But then we found that when we travel and the beds are really high, we use those same high density foams to elevate my chair closer to the height of the bed. But like when I go to Hawaii, we're not going to bring those ramps with because they're bulky. So we'll have to figure it out when we get there.
Yeah, I was looking for a picture I was going to send to
I
Sue.
know in a lot of the hotels that when there is a somewhat accessible room or accessible room, whatever, you can ask them to lower the bed, and they usually have the lifts under the legs, or they'll pull out change the box spring or something like that. Because I just
Yeah,
found that out just a few years ago, and that made a difference because the transfers on some of those beds are like really high. The beds, the
crazy
level
high.
of the bed. Yeah, so I just found out a few years ago, so I used that a few times where I tell them, hey, I need the bed, wheelchair height or whatever, and they take care of it. So that's one thing it's always kind of good to try when you travel, and if you do see that, because I kind of struggled for a lot of years when I stayed in hotels with the height of the bed. I just kind of dealt with it and realized now that I didn't have to,
Yeah, I actually we stayed at a place sort of recently, and I was in my regular everyday power chair, which is really tall. And that place had been told so many times that their beds are so high that they made them way too low. They're super low, and they wouldn't do anything to raise it for me. So
the opposite.
And Shawn, in the background, I did send you two of those pictures of the ramp if you're able to pull them up, and also a video of Sue. I did have a video of you rowing, so maybe he can pull that up for us while we're wrapping up here and getting towards the end. Um, and you said something about your husband um, with the Tesla. Did he ever get his Tesla truck?
he's on the list. And that one actually we're hoping that we can instead of using the 60-pound chair that doesn't do well on mountains, that I can use my heavy chair and roll it up the ramp into the back of the truck and slide the thing over the chair reclined, and then that truck goes up and down, so we may not need a ramp to get in, or well, in fact, I'd be in my chair that is actually can go up. So
It,
it may be a really good thing for us. We're
and the
on the
truck has a power outlet in the bed of the truck,
Yeah,
hmm
for
You can
charging.
actually charge the
so
chair
you
from
can
there.
keep that chair
Yeah,
charged.
Yeah,
except I'd always be scared that I'm overcharging on something. Like when I ride my bike, I don't ever want to turn on my headlamp because I'm like, oh, I'd rather have that power for me and not for my life. So
Yeah.
I never turn it on. So yeah, it's great to hear that you're traveling and
yeah.
staying active. Any more questions, guys, for Sue? And then maybe we can talk about uh, our sponsors one more time, Robert.
Yeah, I don't really have any questions. It's kind of been interesting to kind of see how other people's life as we age. The four of us have different different directions in a sense. But yeah, it's good conversation.
I'm trying to constantly learn.
Yeah.
Learning from Bobby now. Been in the chair a long time, but yeah, just by knowing people, that's the foam ramp, which weighs like nothing, and that
Oh,
that makes
cool.
my chair as high as the seat, and then it just that one folds in three. He made another one that folds in two, which even
Cool.
works better, but that one takes up less room for when we're going to San Diego or something and have other
Yeah.
stuff in the car.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Nice.
Hmm.
So you got your toolkit on the back of your chair too.
Yeah.
oh, on that, oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that's
There you go.
the
That's a good
condo
shot.
that we rented. Yeah, and that's how I got up
See,
high enough for that bed, which
that's
it's,
that's figuring it out and whatever works. That's exactly what it's all about.
That is great.
I don't know that that particular ramp would work with my 300-pound chair, but there probably is one that would. But this one
Yeah.
doesn't need
Well, you
it.
said they're made of foam.
Yeah, it's I think closed cell foam.
Hmm.
Yeah, for anybody
Yeah.
who wants the information on the phone, they can contact Sue through Instagram or myself, Robert Rowan, through Instagram, and I can send you that because you gave me all that info, Sue. So I still have
Mhm.
it, and it's probably
Yeah,
one of my other projects. I finally just got through all my like sewing these. And our friend Paul in the chat, his wife made them, and we came up with these like it's a Velcro strap, and so it helps you hold on to different things. So like a bar, or I have it around my jump ropes, and you just have to put your hand inside and then tighten it up. And so you can tape it to like a workout bar or anything that you want to have a little bit of extra grip and hold your hand onto something where you don't have to worry about wrapping it a lot. But it's not, doesn't give you a lot of grip, but at least it just holds you in place
Yeah.
for a little
Keeps
bit.
your hands in place, right?
hmm
Yeah.
So Bobby, you think it's time to say and thanks to our sponsors? Luis, you want to do
Yeah.
that?
Sure. I would like to thank Mobility Professionals, a really great DME provider here in the Southern California area. Whether you need a shower chair, a wheelchair, any type of device or piece of equipment, they are the ones. They are knowledgeable. They're part of the community. Um, they have people who use these themselves. It's not just some person learning the equipment and selling it to you. They use this themselves. Urology Professionals is a division of the same company as Mobility Professionals, but they are nationwide and they provide urological supplies all around the country. So no matter what you need, if you want to try something, they'll send you a demo. If you're in a pinch, they can send you a kit to help you out so you can try something out. And the urological supplies constantly change. There's always new product out there. And if you want to try something, give them a call and they'll send you a demo sample of something that you might be interested in. That's both mobility professionals and urology professionals. Great people, and we love them as a sponsor.
Absolutely. And don't forget, every other Thursday you can catch us here, second and third Thursday of every month, and our next show is going to be
Second and fourth.
yeah, second and fourth. Did I say second and third?
Yeah.
Second and fourth. So our next one will be a few days after Christmas, and don't forget to check the rest of the guys out on Tuesdays. Every Tuesday at 3:30, and then on Wednesdays we have Tom. He's playing his video games, so catch him out. Dang it, it's not working. Uh, ah, dude, I didn't have the volume high
Oh
enough.
man.
War games.
Darn it. This one failed on this one, but don't forget to check him out. And then the first and third Thursday of every month we have Brianna and the girls. Now I got music playing in the background. Who
Yes, the
knows?
Women's Disability Show.
There you go. First and third. Any last things before we go, Sue? Any
Thanks
advice you
for
want
having
to give?
me. It's been fun. Yeah.
Any kind of advice you want to, a message you want to
Just yeah, I think
give?
try something new. I never did any of these things, until the last couple of years, and didn't know I could do them. And so, yeah, try things that are new. I want to try sailing sometime, but I know it. I don't want it to be part of my regular life because I've got too many other things going on.
That sounds like fun.
No, that's great. You're staying busy. And I work out with Sue um, most nights at 5 o'clock. And so right now that is Staying Driven Live. If you want to come and work out with Sue and myself and Paul in the chat, hit me up on Instagram. It's free to join right now for the rest of November or December. Geez, for December, and then starting in the new year, it's going to be $30 a month. But if you want to check it out and see what we're exercising and the movements we do, it's a lot of fun, and we have it's kind of like a group where we get to chat a little bit and work out and have some fun.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Sue, before we go, I wanted to add something about you going to Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big deal. It is a very
Yeah.
big deal to go to Berkeley. One, it's
Mm-hmm.
a great school. The disability program is pretty awesome. And
Mm-hmm.
I have a very good friend of mine. He's passed away now, but he actually got a full ride scholarship at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
Went for the application interview at Stanford, and they didn't know he was in a wheelchair. And Stanford said, "We're not accessible. We can't accept you." And he's like, "But I got a scholarship. Sorry, we can't take you." So he
Oh,
got in
wow.
his car, drove over the Dumbarton to the other side of the bay, went to Berkeley, got to Berkeley. Berkeley said, "You got a full ride scholarship at Stanford?" And they said, "No, you're accepted. We'll take you.
Yeah,
You're on.
wow.
We'll match whatever Stanford was going to do."
And
And he graduated from
Stanford is
Berkeley.
a flat university, and Berkeley
Yeah,
is low.
it's a different animal.
Mhm.
But to go there and know that you graduated, you went to graduate school, and the
Mhm.
things that you've done is wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for doing that for yourself and for us and your family.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was a great experience, and I'm glad that I don't think that they have a program like they had when I went there. From what I've heard, that made it as easy to have the support in case your attendant care fell through. But there is some programs at Berkeley that give you a little bit more backup support than anywhere else, so it's doable.
Yes. In California, for people with disabilities to go to school, does a
Mhm.
lot for us, for the disability community. If you want to go to college, go to university, a community college, take advantage of the programs because what they do have is awesome. Take
Yeah,
advantage of it.
yeah. All the Cal
Absolutely.
State University, they all have disabled student services and all the other
The
street
UCs, the
classes. Yeah,
Cal
UC
States, the
campuses.
CCs.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Good
Absolutely.
stuff.
This gentleman I'm talking about eventually became the vice chancellor of community colleges for the state of California.
Oh, how
Mhm.
cool.
It's
And he
very
was
cool.
polio. And when he was going to school, he was like a para as polio. And then as an adult, when he became the vice chancellor, his post polio had changed and he became like a quad. But he was
Mhm.
still able to do the job. And he
Yeah.
had that job despite what people thought was an able bodied job, you know.
Right.
So it shows we can go out there and do it. And you're living it, you're proving it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Sue, for joining us. Thank you, everyone
Thank
in
you.
the chat.
Thank you.
And also, a big thank you to Jeff for our super sticker. Really appreciate that. And till next time on the 28th, live to roll and have a great holiday, everyone. And
Yep.
All
Sue,
right. Thank
you can
you.